What's up, folks? We've got the X-Wing World Championships coming up this month. It's really, really, really close. And I wanted to take a quick minute to kind of do a quick meta discussion to talk about the things that we know are going to be there and the things that we kind of think are going to be there. Just the two boogeymen I'm going to throw out right out of the bat, or right off out of the gate. Um, we do know that Han isn't going anywhere. The Rebel Han list is still going to appear. We're going to see it, and I believe there's one right here. No, not quite. Well, actually, this is a funny case. So this is the Han list. But this, well, I'm not going to skip to that. So, or we'll get back to that one in a minute. Excuse me. So we're still going to see Han. Han himself has kind of been overshadowed because a lot of people aren't going to it as much after the nerf, where you can't have both Perceptive Copilot and Biston in the same build. It's still really, really strong, does almost all the things it did before, and so there's not necessarily a reason to dump it. And I think that even though a lot of players have jumped ship already, I do think it's still going to appear at Worlds. We're still going to see quite a bit of it, and you're still going to have to be able to deal with that. So that is Han Solo in the YT 1300 with probably Bistan and something else. I think Chopper Crew. I think I've seen. Oh geez, what did I see? There are a couple other tech pieces you can go in there to either get additional focus tokens or get target locks to compensate for not having additional focus tokens. And then you've got Luke, boy Luke, who's going to appear a lot by himself just because of those proton torpedoes, the durability. Boy Luke is still a strong piece we're going to see a lot. Keo is still appearing in basically every single Rebel list I'm seeing. And that's Keo, Venzi, and the A-Wing, the one that can side slip. Really good objective grabber that can also put out surprising damage. And then we're probably going to see some extras on that. So 2-pointers are going to appear a lot. But some of the other kind of big meta monsters we're going to see is there's definitely going to be Republic. I was thinking about this today, talking about it a little bit. If you think about Republic spam, you can do the 3 named arcs, the scary brick of arcs. Each one is 4 points, so you can do that for 12. And then you've got 2 other 4-pointers you can throw, or 2-pointers, excuse me. You can throw in for 4 total, and you're looking at, what is that, 14? Which gives you 6 points still to throw at that for a scary ace or 2 3-pointers, however you want to build that out. So you could easily see 7 ship Republic lists making a big dent, and those are quite scary. And then we're also seeing a lot of the newer Rebel stuff. We're seeing a lot of the new Imperial stuff. One big list I've been hearing about a lot is going to be Vader with Colonel Jendon. And let's talk about him real quick. Vader with Colonel Jendon. They're both Initiative 6. They both do insane amounts of damage, and they are both kind of hard to pin down. This is a TIE Defender. The new Battle over Endor TIE Defender has proton cannons and the ability to spend a shield to add an additional attack die, and gets free target locks, which is pretty bananas, and has a passive defense buff, in that pilot ability, where while you defend, if you're not shielded, you may change one of your blank results to an eyeball result. This ship also gets if you fully execute a speed 3 to 5 maneuver, you may perform a target lock action. And there is while attacking, if you're not stressed, you may spend 1 shield to apply the range 1 bonus, which means throw an additional attack die. Now, one thing that's interesting to bring out is that's an ability that Captain Yor has as well, but Captain Yor doesn't have proton cannons and also is not Initiative 6. I will say, though, that if you do see Captain Yor, watch out for that ion control, because a 4-die ion cannon is no joke. That is a very nasty thing to do, and it's something that can come up and take a ship that should not be ioned, that doesn't want to be ioned, and ionize it at the worst possible moment. So watch out for that. But the 5-die proton cannons from Jendon is the one that I personally have faced quite a bit. It halved, I believe I lost Gina to it, Gina Moonsong, the new B-Wing, in 2 games in a row. That it's at Initiative 6 is really, really scary. Now, one thing I really want to highlight, let me finish the list. So it's Jendon, Vader, plus Vizier in the Reaper, usually with Palpatine. So it's kind of cool to see that. You get a Reaper with Palp in it, which just brings back all kinds of memories of older metas. But usually that, and then another 3-pointer. I want to say I fought against Tomax multiple times. Tomax Bren, could be the custom one, could be the standardized loadout, whatever you want on that. Could be any other bomber. And that 4-ship Imperial list is definitely going to come up. Now, one thing I wanted to highlight about that is Vizier is going to skate around the edge of the board. He does a surprising amount of damage, so watch out for him. But then also he's just very, very fast and able to catch backfield objectives in your backfield. So you can head him off or chase him down. He does die fairly quickly if you focus fire on him, but you have to kind of isolate him and do that and dedicate a lot of fire into him to take him down. So watch out for him to take your backfield objectives. And then Jendon, of course, is just very, very durable. But a couple things I want to highlight about dealing with Jendon are that he is somewhat predictable. So the dial is not terribly impressive, and he does still have the white K turn, but his turns are awful. And if he's stressed, he does not want to be turning or banking. He wants to be going straight. So try to stress him, see if you can get him in that case, and block him. If you block him, he becomes significantly less dangerous because that Chiss engineering the free target lock is after you fully execute. So blocks are fairly effective against him, which I appreciate. It's also a TIE defender, fairly durable, but does not have the free evade tokens. So it is noticeably more fragile than other defenders, especially if they're spending shields. Now, it can do a lot of damage for sure, but if it's doing the full damage it can do, you also will be more capable of burning it down. So it's actually a really nice foil between this thing and the two B-Wings. It throws a bunch of fire, but if it doesn't finish the job and kill the things it's shooting at, they will probably kill it right back. And it's a lot harder for the Empire list to recover from that than the Rebel list to recover from the loss of a B-Wing. So yeah, gonna be scary. You got to watch out for that Empire list. Definitely practice against it if you get the chance. The two damage-dealing I6s really make it top-heavy, where it does a lot of initiative killing, a lot of damage very quickly, and is tough to maneuver around because you've got the multiple I6s. Yeah, and that's usually Starter Vader, I think. So Man Vader, I think is what they call it. But anyway, so this is going to come up a lot. Another one we're definitely going to see from Empire is Sunter Fell, both just from sheer nostalgia because it's Sunter Fell, the ace, the TIE Interceptor ace, the ace of legend, but also because he's very, very scary. He does have the system phase config, which is interesting, but then has a bunch of other stuff too, where after you perform an attack, you can then gain a deplete to move, which is crazy. So he's got the shoot run, which is really good, and then he has the Apex Predator, which is a non-bullseye predator. Then he's got blank signature, where he can just spend a recurring charge. So one shot per turn, he can spend a charge to change an eyeball to an evade. So he's just got a free evade mod. That is bananas. And then he's got a feedback emitter where he can, once per game, he can go ahead and, after he's target locked, he can jam the ship that target locks him, ignoring range restrictions. It's once per game. So it's still really good. It's just like a purely defensive false transponder codes that Scum has in the illicit, and it is an illicit, which is interesting. So yeah, a really powerful piece, still initiative 6, still has the same hit points, but I do still expect to see Sunterfell pop up, and you certainly got to be able to deal with that. We will probably see some of the others. I don't know how many of these have really kind of made a splash. Scimitar 1 is the most expensive of them, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, both of these, Scimitar 1 and 3, are expensive, but they do have the proton torpedoes and ways to mod the heck out of it. So yeah, Scimitar 1 can gain free target locks, and then has marksmanship and no escape. Oof. And no escape is the ability that the Battle over Endor Imperial ships have, where they get a reroll. Yeah, they can reroll a blank result if there are more enemy ships at range 0 to 1 of the defender than there are friendly ships. So that's actually one of the bigger things that Sunterfell can offer, is he can get right up close and keep himself alive, but then also give those free attack mods to his wingmates. So watch out for these guys. We do, I believe Captain Yor is the 6-point defender, so we may actually see triple defenders, which is not something I really want to face, especially since they can, the two of them could spend their shields for extra offense, and then the third is going to be something real nasty. But yeah. Whew. Anyway, so we're going to look at these. Let's take a quick look at the Rebel stuff too. So Wedge I've talked about quite a bit. He's definitely going to crop up. I doubt we'll see Yendor or Kendi. Maybe. I would love to be surprised by those, but I don't expect to see them. There hasn't been much chatter about them. These A-Wings we may see, most likely we're going to see Gemmer and Tycho. This Tycho does have the potential to be extremely dangerous with a reusable proton rocket, which is really good, but I've talked before about how the action bar is not friendly towards lining that up. So be careful with your positioning, and you should nerf this guy dramatically unless he has support from a coordinator. Interestingly, just an aside, Tycho is the perfect wingmate for Ahsoka. If you want to spend 5 points on an A-Wing, Ahsoka A-Wing loves flying with Tycho. We are definitely going to see Gina and Braylon, the standardized loadouts from Battle over Endor, Gina and Braylon, because they are able to bring ludicrous attack mods. So they're still B-Wings, they still are very slow, they still have terrible dials, and they burn down very quickly, but they also have 9 hit points, defensive rerolls if they're positioned correctly with It's a Trap, And then Gina has Juke and Proton Torpedoes, which she can comfortably double mod every turn. And she can actually trigger Juke fairly easily every turn with the Chassis ability. The ability to, after you gain a stress token, you may spend 2 charges to gain an evade token. Oh no, okay, that's every other turn. But still, every other turn she can trigger Juke. And so you have a focus, lock, evade for Juke, Proton Torpedo at initiative 5. That is nothing to sneeze at. It is a little bit of a one-trick pony. If you are able to tank or get her to otherwise miss both of those shots, then she's still dangerous because she's still got a 3-dot attack die base, but not nowhere near as dangerous. So definitely watch out for that. And it's very easy to flank these, but they are able to drop bombs to the side. And Gina has ion bombs, and Braylon has proton bombs. Kind of the key thing here, though, is they're only truly dangerous if you take both of them, because their pilot abilities rely on each other being close. Gina has, at the start of the engagement phase, if a friendly Braylon Strom ship at range 0 to do a stress, you may acquire a lock. Braylon has, at the start of the engagement phase, if a friendly Gina Moonsong is at 0 to 2 or stressed, you may gain a focus token. So Braylon will lock on his turn and can get a free focus. Gina will focus on her turn and can get a free lock, which, really good. Yeah, so they can both double mod, but Braylon has homing missiles, which are just not scary unless you already have damage or you're a low hit point ace. So low hit point aces don't want to see homing missiles, but most other ships can just kind of shrug and be like, whatever, I'll take the 1 damage to not take the shot. I think that makes him much slower and much less effective than Gina, but he's also 1 point cheaper. So, and his presence supercharges Gina. So yeah, we're definitely going to see these two. They are really bad on objectives, but they're very good at controlling space, and they're decent jousters. So you want to watch out for these because they could just fly straight at you. And then if they do enough damage to be worth it, you won't recover from that. So you got to have a plan to deal with these. And they're definitely going to crop up. So those are some kind of some of the new cards that I expect to see. I do also expect to see Lando come in as a replacement for that Han. So you may see that Han list we were talking about with that Luke, Keo, plus another ship, and then a Falcon. You'll probably see Lando because he comes into the same price point as Han and does a lot of the same things. So watch out for that. A lot of the same things and then a lot more. Definitely take a minute to read this card if you get the chance. We're not going to do that right now. We're actually going to take a quick look at List Fortress to look at some of the recent tournaments and actually talk about some of the lists that appeared. Right off the bat, I do want to highlight that this is the Cut 14. This was a top 16 list that lost in the first round of the elimination of day 2. And so is listed as rank 1, but that is not correct. Corentin Rue is actually the one that won with a Shiranu list. And we are definitely going to see Chirpy, Rack, Rear Admiral Shiranu. The Decimator is going to pop up quite a bit. That Vader Ruthless Death Troopers combo is terrifying, especially backed up by a bunch of Black Squadron aces. There again, we see that Vizier with Palp, and then that Tomax. That is the standardized loadout Tomax because he has that True Grit, which is not a upgrade card. This is a very frightening list, and Empire can build a lot of similar things around Vizier Tomax plus stuff. And that stuff can be the Defender and Vader, or it can be Rack plus a lot of other stuff. So watch out for that one. I will note that this is a very nasty piece, that this is 6 points, 3 ships for 6 points. And they all charge up Ruthless, they block, they can take on objectives, they can just kind of be a mess. It's a really, really strong strategic piece to use. I did want to take a minute to talk about this scum list that Rob ran, because it's just wild. Sarasu gives all friendly ships at range 0 to 1 the ability to reroll a single green tie every time they're shot, which is great. An I5 Sick Interceptor. With swarm tactics to bring somebody else up to I5, and plasma torpedoes to have some damage output on top, which is a great build for that. You can either clear stress or recharge some charges with Cutthroat. Then you've got Dirge in the Rogue with Cutthroat, Marksmanship, and Proton Cannons. Any build you have with Dirge and Proton Cannons is monstrous. These are a very strong piece with Proton Cannons. Definitely take a look at that. Really good piece, probably one of the best pieces that Scum has, especially in that combination of upgrades. Then we've got Lima Kai with Plasma Torpedoes and R4B11, which lets you remove a red or orange token from the Defender to have them reroll, I believe, I don't remember how many defense dice, but reroll defense dice so that you can mess with their defense on attack. So it's kind of a built-in saturation salvo and a unique astromech. But you do have to pay the price of removing a red token from them, so there's that. Then you've got Dace Bonearm with the title, and Lando and Shield upgrade. So he's going to be banking focus tokens, and then with Lando can spend a green token to reroll 2 dice results, either on offense or defense. So if you have a focus, if you have 2 focuses, 1 banked, and then you have another one, then you can spend that to have a double modded attack or mod your defense, however you want. Really good piece that makes it a very consistent, basically X-Wing equivalent, except it has a 0 stop and jam. So you want to watch out for that ship. Then you've got Manaru, the Jumpmaster with Cutthroat, Jamming Beam, Han Solo, Gunner. It's Han Solo Gunner that lets you take a focus when you engage, red focus when you engage, Overtune Modulators, and Punishing One. Really interesting piece there because that Han Solo allows you to do whatever action you want on your turn and then still get a focus token when it's your turn to engage because you do that red focus action when you take your shot. One of the most powerful upgrades in the game, also 9 points, and takes a gunner slot. So it's still good. This is just a very strange build for Manaru, and a lot of us in the Scum Discord were just kind of scratching our heads about that. But it's a nice way to use it because the Han Solo Gunner is something I had not considered and is a really good option for Manaru because she could roll in target lock and then on engage, use that Han focus and have a double modded shot. And one of the biggest downsides of the Jumpmaster is their mods are bad. So that's good. I'll have to keep an eye on that one. And that build could actually work for Dengar too. So at I6, you could go lock focus and have a really nasty shot. And then also, if you don't spend the focus, you can have it on your bonus shot. So good stuff. Let's see. Going to go through here. Here we have another one of those Republic spam lists. And I should take a quick minute. This is the Sith Taker Open. This is a 113 member tournament that happened in the UK. One of the biggest tournaments that happens this close to Worlds. We don't have a ton of data and other events closer. I've got a couple tournaments pulled up we're going to run through real quick. But here's that Republic spam where you've got the 3 scary arcs. And then this one, I believe, also includes 2 Y-Wings and a Torrent. What a weird list. And this guy came in 8th overall, I believe. I want to say that means they made it to the top 8 and then lost before going beyond that. But so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 or 7 ship Republic is definitely a thing we're going to have to watch out for. And then here we've got those Battle over Endor B-Wings. And then with Luke, so that combo there, I talked about Gina kind of running out of steam with that offensive output. You throw Luke in there too, that's 4 proton torpedoes that can be quickly and easily fired with basically double mods between these 2 ships. You do not want to joust that. That is Rebel proton torpedo spam. That is something you definitely want to watch out for. Got Kyo, the juke version, then you got Hull, the standardized loadout. We got Vader, Soontir, hello, Tomac, Scimitar 1. Yee. Okay, so there's Scimitar, the bomber that gets the proton torpedoes. And then a Black Squadron Ace as a filler. So this is another piece of that kind of Imperial soup with several of the pieces we talked about. Not in a combination I talked about, but it's there. Then we've got another Republic spam. Very similar. I'm actually surprised to see the double Y-Wing. It's interesting to see that. The ion cannon, ion turret bombs. Interesting. And Slider is a 2-point Z95. Or is a Z95. I don't remember if that's one of the 2-pointers. I think so, though. So yeah, still seeing that 6-ship Republic. The big thing about the 6-ship Republic is it does decent amount of damage, but it controls a lot of space and just takes forever to chew through. So it's not a good matchup against the Rebel burst down damage, but still is a very strong match against a lot of the other stuff out there. And this just covers a lot of space with the front back attack arcs on the arcs and then the rotating turrets on the Y-Wings and Slider. It's very hard to avoid those shots, so it's going to be tough to dodge that. Ooh, and we've got a Ray list. This is 5th. I'm really bad at reading this. I believe that this column is the actual standing. So 5th place, we've got a Ray Falcon list. And this is the thing too. Resistance and First Order don't come up very much, but when they do, they usually perform very, very well. No one knows what the heck to do with them. So here we've got Ray Falcon with Poe. Nasty. Okay. And then Shaza in the Y-Wing. Weird. Okay. And then, so 2 Y-Wings, a Falcon, and Poe. What a list. Okay. The thing about Rey is she does horrendously heavily modded attacks against you and is a Falcon. So you got to watch out for that. She's got Finn on there. That thing just prints hits. Very difficult to bring down and will just do absurd amounts of damage. Rey is still the Falcon that bothers me more than Han, because Han is, in both iterations, the previous one and now, had a lot of mods, but really still wasn't very consistent, where Rey has Force as a mod and can control when she spends it. So she's going to throw a lot of dice and basically guarantee that some of those are hits. So you got to really watch out for Rey. And then, of course, you've got Poe dealing with you there. You got to deal with him too. We've got two more resistance here in the early ranks. Nasty. Okay, so we got Poe, and it looks like two A-Wings. No, that's an extra. That's T-70. Okay. T-70, A-Wing, T-70, and then Pod. BB-8 with Chewbacca. Nasty. Yeah, and you got to watch out for Ferrosphere paint. That did get changed a bit, but you're still going to see Ferrosphere paint around a lot, and that can give your attacking ship stress. So if you already have a stress ship, I believe it can do an additional stress. Let's actually do that real quick. What do we got? Let's look at this crazy thing. T-70. Poe. You can just look at his ability real quick. And apologies for not knowing this, but this is one of the reasons I do this, is I want to understand how these things work. What is it? Tech? Weird. Yeah, see, it doesn't even make sense. After an enemy ship locks you, oh, dang, so not even if they attack. After an enemy ship locks you, if you're not in that ship's bullseye, that ship gains one stress token unless it chooses to break its lock. Now, right off the bat, if you are going to lock into an additional action, you can't, because you'll be stressed. You can't do linked actions anymore with Ferrosphere. So very, very strong against those Imperial bombers that do a lot of linked into actions. If the lock is their second action, that's okay. But this does say there's no stipulation with more stress. If you're already stressed, so you focus lock, then you will end up double stressed. It's a very nasty piece, and you're going to see it a lot in resistance lists. So watch out for that. Which is another reason to bring friend Rao crew. Just saying. And then First Order has started cropping up quite a bit too. And now Kylo Ren, Whisper Kylo comes up a lot. He's the more common just because he's dramatically cheaper. But do watch out for Silencer Kylo. Silencer Kylo is still pound for pound one of the single most powerful ships in the game, if not the most powerful ship in the game. He's not as good now in objective play as he was, but still, in terms of duking it out with enemy ships, Silencer Kylo is a monster. You want to be very careful of that thing if you see him on the board. And then we've got Wrath, also in the Whisper, and then we've got Malorus, the classic cluster missiles. And then, I've seen this before, this is a sort of a soup of SFs, and I believe this is an SF, Lahuse, yeah. And then these two are FOs. It's just soup. It's very difficult to hit soup that throws a lot more dice than it should and has a bunch of jam. So we do have a lot of double modding lists and ships out there, but they're going to have bad matchups against some of the lists that do really aggressive jamming, which you get a lot out of First Order. But you also see it out of Empire, and you do see it out of Scum. Scum has a lot of opportunity to throw out jams. And then we've got Vizier, Tomax, Vader, Jendon. There it is. There's the 4-ship list right there. Chris Black. Hi-Ho Silver. Yeah, nasty. Nasty, nasty, nasty. That list is definitely one to watch for. Then we've got, there it is. Okay, this thing. Look at this thing. So this is Silencer Kylo. No, that's Wylo. Okay, wow. Brilliant Evasion, interesting. Yeah, this I believe is one we saw at another tournament recently. I believe it won one of the bigger tournaments. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Woof. That is 6 different, it's a 6-ship FO list with a whole lot of pieces in there. And this Null with Sword and Tax is a nasty piece too. Okay, so we're kind of saying, ooh, what's that? This is one of the 7-ship Republic lists. I was looking for this one. This is a gnarly list because it's 7 ships. You still have your, excuse me, now you give up having all of the arcs. You don't have as many arcs, but you just have a ton of bodies on the board that all have that dedicated token sharing synced console, so they can be heavily modded and just sort of throw mods all over the place. Especially with Click, I believe is very good at giving target locks to friendly ships. Can just give them away, if I recall, on top of synced console. And with R3 can have 2 locks and really is sort of servicing giving the entire list target locks. Now this doesn't have that much obvious offense, but still be very careful with this, especially if you're running a smaller 4 or even 3 ship list. You can have a real trouble with these Republic Swarm lists. Most of these ships, like the Z95s, if you focus them down, yeah, you did it, they're 2 points. But if you kill them quickly, that should kind of limit the number of things you have to deal with and the objective control this thing can throw out. But yeah, Axe with barrage rockets. Watch out for that one. I believe that's one of the standard loadouts. Do we see any scum? I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to punch. There's one. Okay. Sorry, Jay Churchman. We go ahead and bash this a bit because it's leaning on the Fang Fighters. Talked many, many times before. I think the Fang Fighters are the wrong call in Scum because they're very expensive. You don't have as much to build around them with support ships, and they are really, really vulnerable to randomness. I forget that there's a word for that, but they're very vulnerable to randomness, where a random pot shot will kill them. They're not able to avoid the shots the way they used to be. They have to focus on objectives better. The Mandalorian upgrades are good, but be really aware that Beskar reinforced plating only triggers against someone shooting you in your arc. So if you shoot from the side, Beskar does nothing. Yeah, so I like to see the Fangs. I love my Fang fighters, but I don't think they're a competitive choice. I think if you're going to go Scum, either take, oh no, take as few Fang fighters as you can. Just because they have really strong upside, but their downside is so bad that they are almost guaranteed to lose tournaments just because they can't win consistently. You'll have some really standout performances, and then they will just lose. And I think that's one of the biggest competitive challenges with Scum is they're leaning really, really hard on Fang fighters, and they don't contribute enough for their cost, and then they die very quickly. As compared to this, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. My God. Okay, so we've got the standardized loadout of the Ada Anakin. Kickback is a torrent. We've got 2 of the arcs. We got a Z95, and then we've got the. I love to see Click running around in these. Click is really good tech for passing target locks to the rest of your squad. That's an extremely powerful ship, and I've been surprised not to see him very much, but now seeing him in lists is pretty cool. So, anyway, we'll go ahead and let me see what's that's. Ooh, there's oh look, that looks almost exactly the same. Okay. Ooh, ooh, okay, interesting. And here we have Dengar. Ooh, interesting. Do appreciate that, Langacker. Good job. I really just, and this is going to be my last comment for a minute, but I really don't like Greedo on Dengar. I don't particularly like Greedo on anything, but just because if you're going to fly Dengar, there will be plenty of times where he's taking shots and doesn't have arc on anything. Happens late game, happens early game, positioning wise, whatever. And if at any point you don't have a shot on things, everything that still has a shot on you will get to trigger Greedo, even if it's more than once. Greedo only turns off if you shoot and get the benefit of that Greedo ability. As long as it's still up, it will punish you from those sort of weird corner shots. And that also is another thing about Scum, is that there's a lot of reliance on upgrades that I think are counterproductive. Oh, that is, oh. Okay, I'd love to see that. We had a Boba 3 ship with Boba, OT, and Fen. Ian, I hope you had a very good tournament. That is awesome. Anyway, we're going to keep going. So we're going to take a quick glance at some of these others. So this is another does not have lists. Okay, close that one out. Duncan Howard running a 4 Whoa. So this is PAX Unplugged. This is where Duncan won with a 4-ship Republic list. What year was this? Was this year? No. There's no way he did that and we didn't hear about it. No. Okay, well, I think he did do it. So we've got 2 arcs and then 2 scary, scary Jedi. That is still a piece to worry about, too. And one game I would love to see is that against the Imperial 4-ship, because that would be a pretty cool matchup. My money would be on the Imperial list, depending on who's flying it, but still, that is there. Watch out for that. And this, here it is. This is the classic Han list that still, I think, is going to appear. You may replace Han with Lando, but I do still think this is going to pop up, and it is not something to ignore. You can't dismiss the kind of competitive benefit that the Han list still has. So watch out for that. It is going to come up. Be sure you practiced against it, even if it can't do what it did now. So this one is a little bit older. I'm not going to spend as long on this one. Yeah, okay. This is all stuff we've kind of seen at some point. Lando, Republic Falcons. Watch out for those. Those are definitely going to come up. Wow, weird. Unrated Magpulse. Anyway, so let's kind of pump through these, and we're just going to take a look. This is the Polish Open qualifier. This still is from 2023, but does qualify for this Worlds. Our number 1 here was the Han list, only this is the alternative Han list where you swap out. Ooh, interesting. So this has Wedge. Marksmanship and Twig Shot. That may actually be A-Wing. That's A-Wing Wedge. Okay. Yeah, so this swaps out some things. So you get the Sabine tie, so you have an additional body. So you have Sabine tie instead of one of the other ships, and that lets you get another 3-ship in there. So it's a 5-ship Han list. Much better on objectives. Similar durability, not quite the punch, but it still has Luke and still has Han, so it can be very dangerous too. So I'm glad that was in here just to see it. Do watch out for Chopper VCX is sort of kicking around. He's going to come up. Chopper VCX with the extra jam. Be very careful with that thing. Interesting. Triple large base. Jagal. Weird. Okay. Let's keep on going. A lot of these are older because like the reason I spent so much time on the Sith Taker Open is it is a premier event. It's a big event. It's one of the largest tournaments out there, but also is the only one that's this close to Worlds. So let's look at what else we got. There's Han Solo again. Okay. And this is XTC, so this is the International Championship. This still was somewhat early. But again, every time you see these Han lists, look at all of the individual strengths there, and just keep in mind that Han can still do the Han stuff. He's only a hair less consistent now and vulnerable to blocking and jam in ways that he wasn't before, but not to the point where it's by any means a weak list. So be very aware of that. Ooh, the Lone Wolf Sabine, I like that better. And then we've got Zori, who got nerfed because probably of that. Yeah, there was some weird stuff that Zori could do on a technicality. But yeah, 5-ship Resistance is another one that hasn't come up yet. Resistance Soup is definitely a very scary piece. You do want to watch out for that. That is going to come up at some point. You're going to have to deal with it. It's going to be a mixture of Ferrosphere Paint, a bunch of weird abilities, and just a lot of ships that can do weird stuff. Like Vanessa Doza has barrage rockets, which I believe she can fire out of arc. I don't remember if it's just rear or if she can shoot it anywhere out of her arc, but watch out for that. We've got M9G8 and Just Pava. Ooh, nasty. We got Chiranu again. We got Poe. There's that Resistance Soup again. There's another Han list. Yeah, there's a lot of these. And this, again, is XTC. This is kind of the international, in theory, best of the best players in the world going up against each other. And this still had that bomber spam. You're still going to see a lot of the bomber spam, and it's going to catch some people off guard. This is one thing, too, where there may be really top-tier lists, but every time I've done tournament prep, I've been smacked around by lists that I had not seen coming because they are the gatekeepers, or just because if you prep too much against specific individual lists, you will be surprised. So keep stuff out of there. Wait, what? Okay. Whoa. I love this one. This is one to watch out for too. Ezra Gauntlet is the other ship that I tried playing with. It's a really powerful piece. I see Heightened Perception on there for the extra offense. I personally ran Compassion on there because that's a way for Ezra to cover that force, especially if you throw like the Child. You do Ezra the Child, lot of force, and then throw some Compassion on there. I had Ezra as one of my tests to carry Fenrau crew to help kind of deal with the red and orange tokens in my list, and really liked it, but it was challenging to fly because it was a large base. And also, I just didn't feel I got the value out of it, especially since it was more expensive than the other option. So watch out for this. This Kanan has come up a lot. So just to kind of talk through this, I want to make sure to cover this, and I won't be longer here, but so Heightened Perception means he can spend a force to attack at initiative 7. Dorsal Turret means I believe he can double tap. Agile Gunner means he can move the arc for free, but the really nasty combo here is Magva and Saw. So Magva is after you defend if the attack hits. So if you take a hit on defense, you get a free target lock against the person who shot you. And then Saw is you may take a damage to change all of your eyeball results to crits. So yeah, and that's on the VCX that's already throwing 4 native dice, 5 at range 1. So if you get a range 1 shot with this thing, you're probably target locked, and that focus mod into just raw crits will really, basically no ship wants that. A handful can tank it, but very few. So be very careful of this thing. It's easy to get around, but if it gets you in that kill box, very scary. And especially with this, also then has Luke, and then also has the Sabine tie to kind of run objectives and go around here. So this thing has a lot of tankiness. It's pretty easy to fly around. That is a list that I expect to lose to Gatekeeper list. So an AC list, we'll just get around behind it and just cut it to ribbons. Once these things start taking crits, they will bleed down very quickly. But they are not. If you make any mistake, these could punish it and just punch holes in your list to the point you can't recover from. So watch out for that. Then we got our 5-ship First Order. We've got the typical Vader. Backstabber, interesting. So Vader and the boys. Okay, all right. We got Chirpy. And this, again, is kind of older meta. This isn't showing any of the Battle over Endor stuff, but it still shows some stuff that's still out there. None of these have fundamentally changed. All of the stuff that was competitive over the past year still is. And a lot of the stuff wasn't touched in the latest balance changes. So some of these lost a little. I think Jess Pava did take a hit in loadout, but a lot of the stuff. So yeah, we're going to see a lot of this stuff. And this is almost the classic Republic list that we saw really make a splash, where it's got the 3 arcs, then it's got Padme in the Padme in the Naboo fighter. But this is pre-nerf, so she can't take proton anymore, torpedoes anymore. But she can take plasma torpedoes and still really protects those arcs. The kind of shutting down mods makes her a really nasty defensive piece and makes it much harder to actually get the offensive impact you need. And she's probably going to be more common now because she's also extremely good against the B-Wings. So the B-Wings have heavy mods, but if you can only spend one of your rerolls, it's not as good. But then this one swaps out a couple pieces to allow you to have two 2-point Z95s instead of the 5-ship. Yeah, we're going to take a real quick look at all these. Okay. Kind of similar. And these were far enough back in the meta. Do be aware of Boudica. Boudica is going to come up a lot in Rebel lists. That is the Fang Fighter, the Rebel Fang Fighter, that if you shoot at a friendly ship, as long as he has arc on you, he can shoot you back. And then takes a deplete, so it does reduce offensive output later, but that's a bonus attack. And it is kind of a strange one. That's also a really good one to run with Fen Rao Crew, because if I remember the order correctly, so say you're shot at I-5. No, okay, you can never shoot more than 1 bonus attack per turn. Never mind. So it wouldn't really help, but still. Fen Rao Crew still, it's 2 fangs. Fen Rao Crew does still give you the option to remove the deplete token you get from using Boudica's bonus shot and then shoot at full strength if they shot before their own engagement. So, all right, running out of steam here. Let's take a look and see if anything jumps out in this couple. We've covered the big stuff. There's going to be a lot of unexpected stuff, but those are some of the big things to watch out for. You got XTC, okay, yeah, all right, XTC. Nicholas God was too good to even have a list in there. Tisk tisk. Yeah, so a lot of the same stuff. We're seeing Rebel Soup and heavy use of Fang Fighters in the XTC for Rebels. I don't think that's going to have legs. It is a nasty list that could show up and do some damage, but anything that's doing double shots or heavily modded shots or they're just throwing a lot of dice will plink those away. I'd be very surprised to see them perform well. I would not be surprised to see them. So do prepare for Fang Fighters, but if you do see Fang Fighters, know that they are relatively easy to bring down. Or that if you keep shooting at them, they go down. That is one thing I also really wanted to highlight. I believe I did highlight that about these defenders, but that they're much less durable than your traditional defenders because they don't get the free evades. The same is true of Fang Fighters. Beskar wears off. You have bad times to use it. If you shoot them out of arc, they don't get any Beskar. There are ways to deal with that. Okay, last one. All right, and this is just the last XTC. Pretty similar. I'm actually surprised at how similar all of these XTC lists are. I know there's variety, but it's still a lot of familiar faces. It's okay. That is kind of good because that gives us a better perspective of what we're going to see, which is interesting. I would also like to highlight again the highest performing scum list. The only one that made day 2 at the Sith Taker Open did not have a single Fang Fighter. Just saying. Just to hammer that point home again. Anyway, that's it. Very excited for Worlds coming up. Hopefully this was helpful kind of talking through some of the stuff out there. Good luck.